Hello everyone and welcome back to our move sets for Marvel Crisis Protocol, the miniatures game. We're going to do Black Widow here, and this is a good way to kind of get an understanding of what this model is going to do on the table, whether you're using it or your opponent's using it. It's really helpful in a miniatures game to know what this model and all of these models are capable of. So let's kick it off with Black Widow. Now Black Widow is a really fascinating little model. Very low power in terms of like needing power. So it doesn't have a lot of like these big attacks. You see some with like Captain Marvel has that 5 power cashing in for this big form change. Black Widow's maximum power spin is 2. Now, if she has a lot of power on her, she can do things with that, especially on the defense. But it's just not a lot of power, not a power hungry model, I would say. So it's a really nice kind of close quarters, mid-range piece that can essentially just create bad decisions for your opponents. So let's start with the basics. 4 health, so this is the lowest health model that I've seen so far. If I do a quick look at all of the cards, actually, this is the lowest health model in the core set, and of all the things that have been released so far, the lowest health model in the game. So you might think, well, that's a real bummer because she's going to get, essentially knocked off the board instantly. That is not the case because the low health is compensated for with some really fascinating defensive abilities. I want to actually start at the bottom of this card for Black Widow because this stealth ability is really the signature Black Widow ability by my measure. It says characters must be within 3 range of this character to target it with attacks. So, pretty amazing. This is basically anyone who's not within this 3 range cannot target Black Widow with attacks. Now the only exception is beam attacks. Beam attacks don't actually target a model. So if you had a big beam rolling through some characters, Black Widow would still take the damage from that attack. But aside from beams, there is just no way to target Black Widow with anything that's not within 3, which makes her very difficult to hit. And you'll find that some of her abilities are going to play off of that distance, and that's what makes Black Widow really special. So let's start with a basic strike. Now we've seen the average strike is about where Black Widow is. So it's a 2 range and 4 dice, which is kind of the lower strike side. So within 2, gonna roll 4 dice, but it has a really cool denial ability, and it's the only one in the core set on these strikes. So first of all, like any strike and basic ability, after you resolve it, let's say I rolled these 4 hits. I wish I could do this in an actual game. Yeah, there's the skull. So we blew up that critical, and that leaves us with 3 successes. Let's assume Red Skull as the target has no defense and is not rolling any defense die. That would be 3 successes and would do 3 damage. So that would give me 3 damage on Red Skull. And then I would gain 3 energy because it says, like most of these basic strikes, or at least all the ones I've seen, after it's resolved, character gains energy equal to the damage dealt. Now here's the cool thing though, if I roll this wild, if the wild is in my dice pool at the end of this attack, it says after this attack is resolved, the target character loses 1 energy, which is great. So this is a nice little energy denial piece. Red Skull would lose 1 energy, and I can strike twice in a row. So if you have a character who is really scary at a certain power level, Black Widow can essentially kind of hide in the shadows, run up and strike, or if you're in range, do a double strike and really deny them the power that they need to launch their big attack or their big beam or something like that. So that's really important to consider. You also have to consider that while you're doing damage with this strike ability, you're also likely going to be giving them power. So don't like run into the middle of the fray and think like, oh, if I subtract 2 power from this model, it's going to be great for me. Because the best you can hope for is essentially no successes, except you have that wild symbol showing. Even though you didn't officially do damage to that model, you still had the wild symbol showing, and you can still subtract 1 power. If you do it, if you're kind of a little good on your rolls, which might not be a problem for some of us, but for some folks that might be an issue, then you're actually going to be doing damage to that model, and that's going to give them power as well. So you can kind of get into that weird space where you don't really want to hit them sometimes because you don't want them to take damage and gain power, but you also can use that as a way to deny them power if you want to play that game. So it's a really nice little kind of opportunity you have with Black Widow to make some cool choices in the game. Then we have the most basic attack yet, a 3 range pistol. Nothing says superheroes like shooting at things. So there's that. So again, remember that anything outside of this 3 range So Black Widow is literally here, cannot be targeted by Red Skull. Here, can be targeted by Red Skull, but also can take that pistol shot. So it's a basic 4 damage attack. Absolutely nothing special about this. Just roll the dice and do the damage. 4 die attack. Then we have kind of the signature, which is mixed technique. Now, I guess one thing that's really relevant is Black Widow's strike is an energy attack. So a lot of models have like good physical defense, but they have low energy defense. So you're gonna be looking for those models for Black Widow to kind of hunt down with these strikes. Then the pistol and the mixed technique are both physical damage attacks. And so those are your kind of basic attacks. And most characters have their pretty strong physical defense in the scheme of the game. So mixed technique is great. Here's why this ability is awesome. So it is a 2-range ability. So Black Widow's got to get within, like the range that she doesn't really want to be, because now she can be targeted. Let's move all this power out of the way. Let's give her 2 because she needs it. We're gonna use 2 energy to do this mixed technique, and then we'll roll 4. Let's just assume no defense from blow up those criticals, get a wild. Let's assume no defense from Red Skull. So that would be 3 damage. If this attack deals damage, so let's say that it does, let's just do 3 right here. Then target character gains the stagger condition. So this is great. So this means that next time Red Skull activates, the first action must be a shake. So you got to shake that stagger out before you can do anything else, which is basically they are denied 1 action. So you think about Black Widow, you can deny energy or power. You can deny their actions with these stagger tokens. So it's looking like a pretty cool control piece. And then if you hit this wild, and this is where you're gonna have these moments in the game where your perfect plan is set up. All you got to do is hit this wild symbol, and you're not going to hit it. I mean, that's my experience, at least. It's going to happen all the time. But if you do hit it, this is what happens. It says elusive. After it's resolved, this character may advance a small movement. Now, one thing that I really appreciate about this is, look at this. This is really, really quite relevant. So let's just put the 3 template here. And this is, if I'm outside of this 3, I get to not get attacked because I have this stealth keyword. And this small movement template is just a little bit bigger than the distance between there and there. And I get a full base whenever I'm elusive. So let's say I want to move here with elusive. I take my advance and I can turn this however I want, right? Boom. I come in, I strike, and then I'm just out of range for retaliation because of stealth. So that's really what you're looking to do. If you have the opportunity, maybe doing a strike and then mixed technique, that wild symbol pulls you out of combat and now you can't be targeted by the skirmish going on in the middle. Or you try to do that, you don't hit the wild symbol and you get blown up. That happens too, and it's fine. Then we have something to kind of defend against that. In fact, 2 things. We have a reactive special power called Counter Strike. So Black Widow is sitting here with 2 power. And let's say I came up here and I did a pistol shot, or maybe I came up here and did a mixed technique and I wasn't able to get out of the skirmish. So now Red Skull thinks, now's my chance. After an attack against this character is resolved, you may use this superpower. If the attacker is within 3, so definitely within 3, then you can roll 4 dice, and any criticals or wilds would deal 1 damage back to the attacker. So remember, this is after the attack is resolved. So I'm almost certain that that means that if this attack knocks out Black Widow, you can't use the superpower, because that's going to happen the moment the damage is dealt. But if Black Widow survives, which is very reasonably likely, you can spend these 2 power, you can counter strike, pick up these dice and roll, and this would be 2 damage, no defense roll, nothing they can do about it, 2 damage right back to that attacking model. That can absolutely be a game winner, and it makes Black Widow a terrifying target to try to get in range, and then you launch the attack, and then she counter strikes, and then you end up taking more damage than you did, and then your whole game plan is ruined. Now we also have Martial Artist, which is a great little ability. It's an infinite superpower. It says when this character is defending against a physical or energy attack, targeting it from within 2. So let's say that Red Skull here is targeting with one of those within 2. Move that up just a little bit. This character adds blanks in its defense roll to its total successes. So you can hang out on the periphery of combat and as long as you're outside of range 3, you're in very little danger. Once you decide to dive in, you become a really terrifying force. So I feel like Black Widow wants to hang out on the periphery, grab some objectives, get that 1 power a turn until she's up to at least 4, and then can dive in and do some damage. So if I'm here within 2, I get attacked. Let's say it's a physical attack, I get to roll 3 dice. And I rolled very well there, so let's just say that I keep rolling until I get that blank. There we go. So now I would turn this blank essentially into a block, because that's what martial artists are all about, blanks into blocks. And then I can still pay 2 after I get that defensive bonus to counterstrike. So not only do I have a stronger defense if I'm close to you, but I also have the opportunity to counterstrike you in return, which is really, really nice. And then as we talked about, stealth is the final piece of Black Widow. It kind of makes this whole thing make a lot more sense. So like I said, I really enjoy this model kind of hanging on the periphery, capturing objectives, not being able to be moved around too much because you can't target the model. And then when it's time to make the money happen, you can roll in, you can do your mixed technique, and try to get back out of combat. If you don't get back out of combat, you still have the opportunity to sit there as a martial artist, make your blanks count as blocks, and then counterstrike your opponent. So they got to think twice no matter what they do when targeting Black Widow. If we go to the injured side, it's the exact same. We've only seen a couple of models that actually change from healthy to injured, which is actually quite handy because there's a lot to learn when you're kind of ingesting this game up front, and not having to say, oh, injured Black Widow is a lot different than healthy Black Widow. Helps to keep that simple. So it's all, as far as I can tell, the exact same. And that's the Black Widow magic. I'm gonna go to chat real quick and see if we have any questions from anybody watching here. And I actually didn't have this open. So if you did have questions, please leave them now. I will be sure to get to them immediately. And then otherwise, we can all just really appreciate how Black Widow can move just perfectly out of range with this ability, which I just really like, that if you hit this mixed technique, you can move out to an objective or to a friend, set up a tactic card, and you're still well outside of range because you're super stealthy. It's really great. So that's Black Widow. That is the heroes we have done at this point. So we're gonna come back in, we're gonna start on the villain side of the board and look at all of their moves as well. And we can't wait for you to join us there. Until next time, keep playing.